Research shows there is still inequality at home, with women taking on most household responsibilities. One of the New York Times most shared articles this week is called "What Good Dads Get Away With." We like that title. It unpacks why women still handle most of the child care and chores. One study estimates it will be, listen to this, another 75 years before men do half the unpaid work at home. The article by clinical psychologist Darcy Lockman is based on her new book. It's called All the Rage: Mothers and Fathers and the Myth of Equal Partnership. Dr. Lockman joins us at the table to discuss. Now, when we read this, a lot of men are shaking their heads going, "No, Darcy, you're wrong." But you call the division of labor the most, I didn't say.
Are they really? Because aren't they saying, darn, we were busted?
That's one way to look at it. The division of labor is the most important equity issues of our time. And you make the article very personal about what was going on in your house. You and your husband were both working parents of two daughters, and he thought what and you thought what?
There's so much work involved when children come around that everyone's doing a ton more. So it's hard for fathers sometimes to see the proportionality of it. And because of our assumptions about who the primary parent should be, it often just defaults to the woman. And what I found in my research is women are really angry about it.
Yeah, but you said that he thought he was doing a good job, that you were nagging a lot, and you thought, I'm not really nagging enough.
Yeah.
I hate the word nagging, but you weren't bringing it to his attention enough.
Yes, we had a very different take on it. And he's a great dad. It wasn't about the fathering, it was the co-parenting piece. And this is where I found a lot of women are really frustrated. And of course, to the person who's being told, hey, you need to step up your game, who already feels like they're doing quite a lot, it became a point of contention, as it often does. I interviewed about 50 women for the book. And I saw this, of course, all around me.
What did you see?
Well, I found that this predicament is so predictable. And I think what has happened is there's this kind of idea of the modern involved father who's way more involved than like Don Draper, right? Who's sort of like what we all hold in our minds as the 50s dad. So there has been a lot of improvement in how much parenting work men do. But actually the percentage, which the Bureau of Labor Statistics consistently shows is about 35% of, that's how much of the child care work fathers take on, that's held steady for the last 20 years. So the numbers climb, but they level off without ever reaching parity. And a lot of parents today go into this expecting parity. So when it doesn't manifest, there's a lot of upset.
What about the happiness of people who don't expect parity, who have what would be called more traditional
Good
roles?
question. It is a good question. The thing that I found was that if couples had outlined their expectations, it almost didn't matter how the work was divided. But most couples don't think to do that. You don't know all that goes into raising a kid, all the kind of behind the scenes labor until you have one and you encounter it. So people don't tend to get together and say, how are we going to do this? And it all kind of comes on, and then it often defaults to mother. So the defaulting to the mother is where there's a problem. If people have agreed to live traditionally, that's fine until mothers do get frustrated with that.
There's also nonverbal work, which is to say, as Nancy Gibbs at time used to call it, keeping the house in your head.
Yes.
That it's not just the work you do, it's all of the planes flying around in your head that have to land about, that have to do with.
Yeah, the mental load is a big thing. And in fact, when I was writing the book, I think it was in 2017, a cartoon illustrating the mental load went viral, and it was awesome. It was perfect. It shows everything that mom has in her head that the father doesn't really know to think about. And it's really hard to illustrate that stuff to your partner. And if you're the one who's always on top of it, you're the one who does all the learning. So it's kind of a snowball effect.
And the solution?
That's also a great question. So I think the first thing is to really understand that the sexism out there in our world permeates our intimate relationships. We don't expect it to. We think our homes are separate from our culture, and they're not at all. And I think if you go into parenting with that realization, you can do the second thing that successful couples do, which is just really stay on top of how things are being divided. It doesn't need to be split down the middle, 50-50 with a hatchet. That's not realistic. But if you're constantly checking in with each other to see how things are going, and people have their assigned tasks, agree upon them, and agree the standards that those tasks need to kind of meet, things work out a lot better. So couples who achieve parity are really on top of that. That is a goal.
All boils down to communication. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gayle.